In 1991, a near-forgotten shotgun with a folding stock was suddenly on every gun collector's wish list, thanks to a movie that redefined what cool firepower meant. The world remembers the catchphrases and the leather jacket, but just as iconic are the guns, the SPS-12, the lever action spin, weapons that became instant legends. The real story is not about Arnold or robots. It is how the Terminator movies turned niche firearms into pop culture gold, launching a gun market-feeding frenzy that endures today. But how did Hollywood fantasy rewrite gun history? And what happened to these weapons when the credits rolled? The SPS-12 wasn't born a legendary weapon. In the late 1980s, it sat on gun shop racks as a curiosity, a heavy, complicated Italian shotgun with a folding stock and a price tag that put off most buyers. Law enforcement agencies skipped it for simpler pump actions. Civilian shooters found it overbuilt and awkward. By 1990, dealers quietly marked down the SPS-12, hoping someone would bite before import bans or dust settled on the black and steel finish. Then came the summer of 1991. Suddenly, the SPS-12 was everywhere, on posters, in magazine spreads, and most of all in the hands of a leather-clad cyborg who made reloading look like an art form. It wasn't just a shotgun anymore. It was the shotgun. The folding stock snapped out with a metallic clack. The oversized heat shield gleamed under harsh lights, and every close-up turned the gun's industrial lines into a promise of unstoppable force. On screen, the SPS-12 looked like a weapon from the future, designed for a world where style mattered as much as stopping power. Collectors took notice. Gun shops that couldn't move a SPS-12 for $1,200 before Terminator 2 now fielded calls from buyers willing to pay double. Auction houses listed Terminator configuration SPS-12s and watched bids climb to $30,000 or more, especially for models with the correct folding stock and heat shield. Even as Franchi stopped importing them to the United States in 2001, demand never faded. The SPS-12's on-screen presence had turned a slow seller into a pop culture trophy. The real twist was simple. The gun itself didn't change. No new features, no technical upgrades, just a starring role and the right close-ups. That was all it took to rewrite its fate. The SPS-12 wasn't just back, it was immortal, forever linked to the fantasy of cinematic firepower. The Winchester 1887 lever-action shotgun earned its spot in movie history with a single, jaw-dropping move, the one-handed spin-cock reload. On screen, it looks effortless. A cyborg riding a Harley, flipping a 10-gauge shotgun in a perfect arc, racking a shell with machine precision. Off-screen, it is a different story. The real Winchester 1887 was not built for circus tricks. Its heavy steel frame and stiff action demand two strong hands, especially when loaded with full power shells. Try to spin cock a genuine 10 gauge with live ammo, and you are more likely to drop it, or break your fingers, than reload like the Terminator. The stunt required old-school Hollywood ingenuity. Weapons master Harry Liu and his team took a standard 1887 and gave it a serious makeover. The lever loop was enlarged, big enough for Arnold's gloved hand to swing through without getting stuck. The shotgun's action was tuned to cycle reliably with blank rounds, which kick far less than real shells. Even then, the prop department built multiple versions. One for live fire, one for stunts, and a rubber double for scenes where the risk of disaster was too high. The one-handed flip worked on set because the blanks produced just enough recoil to keep things moving, but not enough to wrench the gun out of Arnold's grip. The prop guns were cleaned and adjusted between takes, since the blank residue could gum up the action and ruin the shot. Each flip was carefully rehearsed, with safety the top priority. Even so, the move was risky enough that only the hero prop with the enlarged loop got the honor of the spin-cock scene. In the real world, gun experts have tried to replicate the move. Most end up with bruised knuckles and a healthy respect for the laws of physics. The spin-cock is pure movie magic, an impossible reload that looks so good nobody cares if it is practical. If the SPS-12 was all about style, the Winchester 1887 proved that spectacle beats reality every time. The AMT hardballer long slide isn't just a footnote in gun history. It is a blueprint for what happens when cinematic style meets mechanical reality. In 1984, the T-800's pistol of choice wasn't the most common .45 on the market. With its stretched, gleaming slide and slab-sided stainless frame, the hardballer looked more like a prop from a sci-fi future than a standard-issue sidearm. The compensator with its vented ports added an extra 2 inches of menace and transformed the silhouette into something unmistakable. On screen, that extended profile and clean finish read as pure, cold precision, a future assassin look that stuck in the minds of viewers and gun enthusiasts alike. Collectors didn't just want any .45 after the Terminator, they wanted that one. Custom shops and home builders scrambled to match the exact configuration, long slide, compensator, stainless finish, and if possible, the same minimalist sights. Early gun forums filled with threads about sourcing AMT parts or converting a Colt 1911 to mimic the T-800's setup. By the late 1980s, Terminator-style kits were a cottage industry, with armsmiths shipping out hundreds of screen-accurate builds to fans who wanted their own piece of cinematic cool. Auction records decades later show hardballer long slides in the right configuration fetching up to 6 times the price of their plain cousins, driven by nothing more than the power of a single film's aesthetic. The gun's on-screen presence didn't just boost its reputation, it created a collector's chase that still hasn't faded. The minigun scene in Terminator 2 does not just rewrite the rules, it throws them out the window. On screen, the T-800 hefts an M134 minigun like it is a toy, mowing down police cars with a torrent of brass and spinning barrels. The reality? The M134 is an 85-pound, 6-barrel monster designed for helicopters and armored vehicles, not for anyone, cyborg or otherwise, to carry solo. It needs an external power source just to spin up, drawing hundreds of amps from a vehicle battery. The ammunition alone weighs more than most people's gym routines, and the recoil would flatten any human who tried to fire from the hip. None of that mattered in the Cyberdyne assault. James Cameron picked the minigun over a MAC-10 for one reason: spectacle. The visual impact of those barrels spinning, the endless stream of tracer fire, and the sheer noise made the minigun the ultimate symbol of unstoppable force. Every shot is pure fantasy, but that did not stop fans from wanting one. The minigun became a pop culture shorthand for over-the-top firepower. An impossible weapon that everyone instantly recognized, even if nobody could actually use it. In the world of movie guns, looking cool always beats making sense. A single movie scene can turn a dusty gun shop relic into a collector's grail. The process is almost mechanical. A 4-step cycle keeps the Terminator gun legend alive and profitable decades after the credits roll. First comes the iconic moment: a shotgun flip, a minigun roar, a glint of stainless steel in the hands of a cyborg. That image gets burned into pop culture, repeated in posters, VHS covers, and endless YouTube clips. Next, exposure multiplies. Every re-release, meme, and TikTok challenge pushes the weapon further into the spotlight. Demand follows close behind. Collectors start chasing screen-accurate builds, and replica makers race to license or imitate the look. The final step is premium pricing. At Rock Island Auction Company, a SPAS-12 in true Terminator 2 trim can hammer at $43,000, 4 or 5 times what a regular model brings. Screen-used Winchester 1887s and AMT hardballers fetch even higher multiples, with provenance adding zeros to the final bid. Meanwhile, social media keeps the engine running. Gun channel recreations rack up millions of views. TikTok spin cock challenges break 1 billion plays, and every viral post sends another wave of buyers hunting for that piece of movie history. The cycle feeds itself: scene, exposure, demand, premium. 30 years on, the Terminator arsenal is still moving units, not because of specs or performance, but because the myth keeps cash flowing as fast as the auctioneer's gavel. Movie guns still shape what we see and what we want on screen and in real life. Auction prices for Terminator firearms routinely top 6 figures decades later. In the end, cinematic cool outlasts the script, and the hardware becomes a legend. What movie weapon will rewrite the rules next?